Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the bookshelf, or welcome if you're new. I'm Grace, and today we are going over a simple girl's guide to finding the magic in reading again. So, these are books that, if you are a lover of romance, but different kinds of romance too, this is how you get back into reading, fall in love with reading again, and possibly find some of your new favorite fictional people. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what I do for reading, what my reading journey looked like, and some of the pressures that you might face, especially since reading has become so commercialized and popular because of TikTok. Again, like the publishing industry, the print publishing industry was expected to fail hugely because of Kindles and e-readers, and then it skyrocketed again, which was not expected by the scholars, studier people. And so a lot of new people discovered reading again, but when you fall out of love with reading for a while, you can feel kind of dumb going like, hey, how do I do this again? How do I work this into my life? What should I do? So that's what this video is for. So if you're too shy to ask, that's what I'm for. I answer all the questions that you're afraid to ask. And so this is, I think, the third video in my A Simple Girl's Guide series. So if you want to see number 1 and number 2, I will link those below so you can go check out some fun little makeup videos. So first up is one that I read this summer, Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. If you are on BookTok or Bookstagram or YouTube, I'm going to assume that you've heard of this because it is a massively popular teen romance book, but it's honestly like readable by everybody. Like if you're 25, you're not going to hate this book. There are certain books that when you get to be an adult, it doesn't hit the same. This is not one of them. This is like if every 90s rom-com you've ever loved had a baby and then made it bionic so it's even better. This is that book. And by the way, none of these are sponsored. None of my book recommendations are ever sponsored. So these are all completely honest. This is one of the few romance books that I would give a perfect 5-star. Much like Finding Nemo, I think that this is a perfect creation. Liz Buxbaum has always known that Wes Bennett was not boyfriend material. You would think that her next-door neighbor would be a prime candidate for her romantic comedy fantasies, but Wes has only proven himself to be a pain in the butt ever since they were little. Wes was the kid who put a frog in her Barbie dream house, the monster who hid a lawn gnome's severed head in her little homemade garden book exchange. Flash forward 10 years from the great gnome decapitation. It's Liz's senior year, a time meant to be rife with milestones perfect for any big screen, and she needs Wes's help. See, Liz's forever crush Michael has just moved back to town, and horribly annoyingly, he's hitting it off with Wes. Meaning that if Liz wants Michael to finally notice her, and hopefully be her prom date, she needs Wes. He's her in. But as Liz and Wes scheme to get Liz her magical prom moment, she's shocked to discover that she actually likes being around Wes, and as they continue to grow closer, she must re-examine everything she knew about love, and rethink her own perception of what happily ever after should really look like. And then Carrie Winfrey wrote a little blurb on the back that says, a sweet and funny love letter to romantic comedies, perfect for anyone who wishes their life had a film-worthy soundtrack, a quirky wardrobe, and a memorable meet-cute. I've had many meet-cutes that unfortunately did not end in a staying cute. That's what I like to call it. They have like little hearts on the back for like Tom Hanks plus, Harry plus Sally, all the popular rom-coms, and there's also, I believe, a soundtrack at some point. Beginning of every chapter, there's a little quote from a rom-com movie that fits the chapter theme, which is adorable, and it feels like the Taylor Swift Fearless album, where you're just giddy to read this. Like, I could not believe how excited I was about reading this book. I remember I woke up early during the summer, mind you, specifically to read more of this. So, Better Than the Movies, I give 5 stars. Lynn Painter, literary genius. And this book is not too thick. I think it's only like 368 pages, but honestly, it flies by. You won't even notice. And then I've gotten some questions of like, do you annotate your books? Should you annotate your books? Should you write up your books? Personally, I hate the idea of writing in my book because I'm a naturally indecisive person. So what I feel like writing one day, I may not necessarily feel like seeing for the rest of my life, which is also ironic because I am a writer. But if you feel like annotating, I would go slow. Maybe like do some doodles first, okay? Do some little doodles. Like if you're gonna read The Summer I Turned Pretty, maybe draw some seashells in the corners. Take it slow. My overall advice to anyone who's falling back in love with reading, which first of all, great for you, so happy for you, so happy to have you join us. But my overall advice is to not do anything just because people on BookTok are. It is very easy to see influencer videos or posts of people who read like 200 books a year, 100 books a year, and they get all these PR books and they're doing all of these like gorgeous flat lay displays. Like I see those all the time because I'm in that world. And it's very easy to feel the pressure to annotate and do all this stuff and constantly do new book hauls so you can have new things to talk about. And you don't need to do any of that. Because at the end of the day, what people connect with is what you think about reading and an open book club of the world. That's really what it is that you're just basically running one giant book club. And if you were running a book club, you wouldn't worry about, oh, I haven't read 100, 200 books this year. I don't like get PR mail from publishers. And it's like, you have to be a really big influencer to do that. So please don't feel self-conscious if you're like, oh, well, I only read like, if you read 10 books a year, if you read 4 books a year, I don't care how much you read. I don't care what you read. The point is that you're reading. And in this day and age, when most of our, like the younger generations are just like brain rotted, that's something to celebrate, is the fact that you're choosing to pick up a book and read and empathize with a character that's not real. I gave this one 4 stars, and it is The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight by Jennifer E. Smith. And in particular, I love this book because there's also an adaptation of it on Netflix, which is one of my literally all-time favorite movies. Like whether I'm sick, whether I'm happy, sad, no matter what time of year it is, whether I'm on vacation, whether I'm bored, whether I'm stressed out from school, this movie is the perfect thing to watch every single time, no matter what mood you're in. And for me, watching adaptations when I was falling back in love with reading, when I was, I want to say like a younger teenager, watching adaptations really helped because it helps you visualize the story, particularly if it's a faithful adaptation, which this mostly is, I would say like 90% faithful to the book. And so I would watch the adaptation either, before or after you read the book, it doesn't really matter. But for me, watching the adaptation of a movie like Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, some dense works, you might say, really helps me visualize the story, the dialogue, the setting. And the fact that there's a soundtrack also means that like if you want to listen to music while you read, that is something that really helps me like get in the zone and find the emotions of the scene, because also I'm a writer, so when I read, I consider it sort of like practice, for what I could do when I write. So, Love at First Sight. Let me read you the back of it. Oh wait. Who would have guessed that 4 minutes could change everything? Today should be one of the worst days of Hadley Sullivan's life. Having missed her flight, she's stuck at JFK Airport and late to her father's second wedding, which is taking place in London and involves a soon-to-be stepmother that Hadley's never even met. Then she meets the perfect guy in the airport's cramped waiting area. His name is Oliver, he's British, and he's sitting in her row. A long night on the plane passes in the blink of an eye, and Hadley and Oliver lose track of each other in the airport chaos upon arrival. Can fate intervene to bring them together once more? Set over a 24-hour period, this cinematic novel about family connections, second chances, and first loves shows that happily ever after can be found in unexpected places. And then the New York Times Book Review said, a gorgeous, heartwarming reminder of the power of fate. I read this book in 2 hours in the middle of the night. That's a reoccurring theme I'm seeing. If I love a book enough, I will lose sleep over reading it. And I remember I read this back in February of last year, February 2024. And I don't know how I remember that, but I absolutely loved it. I read it in like 2 hours, and then I was like spinning around my room to a Taylor Swift song. Like, this book will also make you giddy, just like Better Than the Movies. A lot of these books are very giddy inspiring. Not a war romance. It is called Emily of Deep Valley by Maud Hart Lovelace. And I have a long history with the Maud Hart Lovelace books, in the sense that they were some of my favorite books when I was 13, 14. I actually worked at the Betsy Tacy Society when I was in high school. I interned there at the teen department, and it gave me so many opportunities and so much confidence regarding my own career, and made me fall in love with Instagram. And honestly, I have Maud Hart Lovelace to thank for a lot of things in my career. And so I couldn't not make a video without sticking a book of hers in it. So, Emily of Deep Valley, I'll read you the back. Emily Webster, an orphan living with her grandfather, is not like the other girls her age in Deep Valley, Minnesota. She's not like the other girls. After graduation, she longs to join the crowd and go off to college, but she can't leave her grandfather alone at home. Resigning herself to a lost winter, Emily nonetheless throws herself into a new program of study and a growing interest in the local Syrian community. And when she meets a handsome new teacher at the high school, Emily gains more than she ever dreamed possible. Maud Hart Lovelace's only young adult standalone novel, Emily of Deep Valley is considered by fans of her beloved Betsy Tacy series to be one of the author's finest works. Honestly, this book also during quarantine, I really love this book because it's about a girl who feels trapped but still wants to make something of her life and finds unexpected opportunities to do so, which was really great encouragement for me during quarantine, because obviously no one had control over what was happening to them. You're basically just like flung around in the world and in life for a year or more. And although it is a romance, it's also more about self-discovery and compassion, and the fact that you can't control everything about your life. And there is a romance though, and it's really cute. And there's like cute little kid characters, and there's like interesting social commentary, you might say. Most favorite modern romance authors: Melissa Ferguson. I have Meet Me in the Margins and The Dating Game, or The Dating Charade. The Dating Charade by Melissa Ferguson. And I gave these books, I think, both 5 stars. This was one of the first 5-star romances that I ever read at all. I think my mom got this for me. I'm not sure. But I'll read you the back. Savannah Kate's dreams are coming true. V. Claire Donovan, editor-in-chief of the most successful romance imprint in the country, has requested to see the manuscript Savannah's been secretly writing while working as an editor herself. Except at her publishing house, the philosophy is only highbrow works are worth printing, and commercial fiction, particularly romance, should be reserved for the lowest level of Dante's Inferno. And isn't romance just undervalued by everybody? But when Savannah drops her manuscript during a staff meeting and nearly exposes herself to the whole company, including William Pennington, new publisher and son of the romance-despising CEO herself, she races to hide her manuscript in the secret turret room of the old Victorian office. When she returns, she's dismayed to discover that someone has not only been in her hidden nook, but has written notes in her margins. Quite critical ones. But when Claire's own reaction turns out to be nearly identical to the scribbled remarks, and worse, Claire announces that Savannah has 6 weeks to resubmit before she retires, Savannah finds herself forced to seek the help of the shadowy editor after all. As their notes back and forth start to fill up the pages, however, Savannah finds him not just becoming pivotal to her work, but her life. There's no doubt about it. She's falling for her mystery editor. If only she knew who he was. And it's sort of like You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks and Megan Ryan. If you love that movie, you will definitely love this book. And I think that's also based off of a book, which is hilarious. Everything is just full circle all the time. And I remember I read this and I was thinking that it was really fun that it was in a publishing company, because that's not a very common setting for a modern romance novel. But It more so focuses on the discovery of who the editor is, the drama within the publishing company. And then you have another book by her, The Dating Charade, which I will read you the back again. Cassie Everson is an expert at escaping bad first dates, and after years of meeting, greeting, and running from the men who try to woo her, Cassie is almost ready to retire her hopes for a husband and children altogether. But fate has other plans, and Cassie's online dating profile catches the eye of firefighter Jet Bentley. In Jet's memory, Cassie Everson is the unreachable girl of legend from their high school days. Nervously, he messages her, setting off a chain of events that forces a reluctant Cassie back into the dating game. No one is more surprised than Cassie when her first date with Jet is a knockout. When they both go home and find 3 children dropped in their laps each, they independently decide to do the right and mature thing. Hide the kids from each other while sorting it all out. What could go wrong? Melissa Ferguson's hilarious and heartwarming debut reminds us that love can come in very small packages, and that sometimes our best laid plans aren't nearly as rewarding as the surprises that come our way. And I love this book because it talks about the foster system, adoption, how kids are affected by that, and it's like cheaper by the dozen in the way that there are suddenly these chaotic, spontaneous families. And it's really adorable that way. And honestly, even though it said that this was her debut novel, I didn't even know that because it is so well written. It feels like you're watching a movie. It feels like a Netflix rom-com that you would turn on after a long day of work. 5 stars for this, always. I will also list some accounts on Instagram that I love that I think would really help you on your reading journey if you're getting back into reading. And then thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this one because it's not often that I talk about like a specific genre. And if there's anything else that you guys would like me to cover for a Simple Girl's Guide, you know I always read and answer the comments every single time. Follow me on the social medias, and I will see you next time. Bye!